Jane Does on your caseload. How many have you had over the course of your career?
The three.
Just the three?
Just the three. One from 76, one from 1996, and one from 2007.
And what's it like for you dealing with trying to solve a case when you have no idea who this person is except maybe their gender and their race?
It's very difficult. When you just, for the instance, the two cases here with the clay reconstruction behind me, all we had was basically skeletal remains. And so what you ended up with is a skull, maybe some DNA, and teeth, and you hope for the best that you can put something together, a case together, where you can find out who the person is. The reconstructions, the clay reconstructions, give it a fairly good idea of what the person may look like. But then, like I said, with the DNA, we take DNA samples from the bones and we submit that to the University of North Texas. That's like a clearinghouse for a nationwide DNA base. Let me start that over. It's like a clearinghouse for the collection of DNA samples across the nation, where they compare unknown samples to family members who have lost loved ones. And we hope to try and get a hit that way. Also, we also use the dental records and try to make a match. So it's pretty difficult. It's nothing very easy about it.
And for the most part, you also don't know how they died, which for some of them you do and for some of them you don't. Is that correct?
Some of them we do and some we don't. Yes, the two reconstructions don't appear to be homicides at this point. There is no evidence, outward signs of trauma. The one case from 1976, which is it was a fresh body. We know who, by looking at her, we can, by height, weight, the whole 9 yards, is pretty clear she had only been dead for a couple of hours, and we can know that that was obviously a homicide. These two behind me here, they're right now undetermined deaths. We don't know what caused their death.
It seems to me like, for most people, and I know not for all people, but for most people, if they were missing for a long time, somebody somewhere along the line would have reported them missing. Do you believe that that's the case for these women, or do you believe that maybe people haven't connected the dots, or why do you think these women have gone so long without being identified as far as somebody coming forward who recognized them or knows them?
Well, you're right. In most cases, people who are missing loved ones do report them missing to the police. Then you have to be concerned, from the law enforcement perspective, are they missing because it's involving a family member who doesn't want to report them to the police? It's hard to say why somebody wouldn't report a person missing unless they had something to do with their death. Maybe they know what happened to them. It could be somebody that could have died of a drug overdose in somebody's house, and just for whatever reason, afraid of being calling the police and getting in trouble or thinking they're going to get in trouble, they take the body and they put it out in the woods or outside the road, and it's not found right away, and then you end up with a skeletal remains out there. And it makes it very difficult for us because we don't have a missing person report to go on. Like we did in these cases, we took the clothing and researched that back to try and find any missing person cases that was similar type of clothing, and we weren't able to do anything. We weren't able to match anything at that time.
For your 1976 case, to me that would be the most frustrating of all of them, because you can see what she looks like, you know how she died, and yet you're missing those key critical parts. Who did she hang around? Who did she love? Who didn't love her? Where did she work? Where did she live? You don't know all of those things. So what's it like trying to solve a murder case when you know it's a murder case and you have nowhere to go beyond? You're stopped at who is this person?
Well, I guess I can answer that with that's why it's still open since 1976. I can tell you what, there's been a lot of guys who preceded me in this homicide office that have handled that, or actually the original investigators in that case and a lot of other detectives prior to me getting a hold of it that looked into that case. It's very frustrating because you don't have a sorting point. You can't go to a family member and say, who was your loved one last with, anything, who are friends, things like that. So you just have a body. You know it's a murder, you have a body, and you don't have any place to go, so you got to try. You spend all your time trying to find out who she is, not being able to find out who killed her. You hope that the two paths cross each other and you link them together and do it that way. That case here that appears has ties to Massachusetts area. Just some of the evidence we recovered from the body. Been a lot of time spent up with the authorities up in Massachusetts, news releases, press releases in the Baltimore area, to no avail. And it's somebody's daughter, somebody's sister, it's somebody's loved one. And it's very, very frustrating. That case will trouble me to the day I die.
And what also is, to me, you did what you could as far as you were able to take images of the body that, aren't particularly gruesome, but that they are images of what she looks like. I mean, you can see her hairline, what her hair looks like, her eye color, all of these different things. And you put those images out there. Why do you think those images, why do you think nobody saw that? And what was stopping somebody?
I have no idea. I have no idea why. I mean, we put them out there in hopes that somebody would see it. Somebody say, hey, my aunt's missing. She hadn't been around since the early 70s. That could be my aunt. And they go onto the web page and look there and say, well, there's some similarities. And, that's what we hope for. We hope for that the people that spend a lot of time on the internet researching these unknown bodies that are found throughout the United States, that you get one call and it matches. Something about it matches, and you start doing DNA samples and you find out who that person is. I would love to be able to find out all three of them, 76, 96, and 2007. I'd love to be able to close all three of those cases and give them names and put them to rest. But it's why people do what they do, it's hard to say.
Because these three women, I'm guessing, weren't buried either.
No. Well, I'll take that back. These are the actual clay reconstructions, which has their skull inside the clay that you see here. The Jane Doe from 76, she was buried.
But she's sort of buried with a tombstone that says what, Jane Doe?
Jane Doe.
Found dead or died
Right.
this day. You don't know when she was born.
Right.
You don't even know if she's from Maryland.
Right. We don't even know if she's from the United States. We don't know where she's from. We can only hope that she had, from the evidence we found in her, that there's a link to Massachusetts, that she was from Massachusetts area. But that's just a guess. It's an educated guess, and like I said, she could be from outside the country.
Was she of a certain ethnicity, or could you not tell?
Well, just for the darkness of her hair and her olive complexion, she could be Mediterranean, and or Hispanic. It just don't have any background on her. I mean, nothing to tell us where she's from.
And we'll go on to the case that Evelyn Grant had made. Since we talked to her, we're going to be talking more about that case. Explain to me where she was found and sort of the background on that case.
Okay, this one here, the Jane Doe from Falls Road. She was found in the 17,000 block of Falls Road on March 5th, 1996, just off the side of the road, maybe 25 feet off the side of the road. Some road crew was clearing the debris from the side of the road, and they came across the skeletal remains. We responded to that scene, and we treated it just as we do every other case. We treated it as a homicide, and we found bones scattered all throughout the area that we were able to recover. We found no evidence, and medical examiner didn't find any evidence of a homicide, but we still treated it that way. Somebody put her up there. She didn't just crawl up there and die herself. One of the interesting things we found in her pants leg, there was a root that grew up inside her pants leg. So we cut the root off and we took it to a botanist at the University of Maryland. And the botanist was able to tell us that he, in his opinion, that root was probably about 5 years old. So led us to believe that body that we found in 1996 may have been dumped there sometime in like the early 90s, 90, 91, 92, sometime around there, and nobody ever found it. So put us even further behind the power curve, so to speak, in trying to determine who she was. Again, we did teeth, to put the clothing out for, and then we had the clay reconstruction done in hopes that somebody would be able to match that up. The clothing, and my niece was last seen wearing this type of pinstriped shirt, but so far we haven't come up with anything. Not from lack of trying on our part, but just haven't been able to match her to anybody.
And explain to me why you chose to use clay reconstruction. What benefits you saw in that as far as getting her identified?
Well, initially we do the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. We did photographs. It was like a picture of what they thought from the skull, what the person would look like. We did that and we got no results, no hits, nothing. So we figured the next step was to try to do a clay reconstruction. And luckily we have Detective Grant, who was a great artist, in my opinion, and she was able to put this together. Said she would do it, and that's why we went ahead and tried it. And as you can see, the results are phenomenal as far as I'm concerned. And
what's your hope? I mean, we talked to Evelyn, and obviously this isn't exactly what she looked like. I mean, her hair might have been different. She might have had piercings. She might have had tattoos. She might have worn bright red lipstick. She might have, I mean, there could be a myriad of different variations of what she looks like. But what are you hoping someone sees when they look at this?
Similarity. A similarity. It looks like my sister, my niece, my cousin, similarity. If somebody calls us, and we have gotten some tips over the years, hey, there's a couple missing children in Baltimore City. As soon as we get those leads, we check to find out if they have the DNA from the family members. We find out that they do. We call the University of North Texas and say, can you do a special search with this missing person's family and our Jane Doe? And they will do that. Both cases that I've been referring to in Baltimore City, the missing persons, that we really thought really could have been her, the DNA turned up negative.
Explain to me how you use the University of North Texas, what they do, and what services they offer you all as far as solving these cases.
Well, they do it's a DNA database. We send them samples of of bone. They extract the DNA from the bone. They put it into a computer database, much like the CODIS database for criminal offenders. And they also receive from other law enforcement agencies, even from Baltimore County. If you have a long-term missing person, we get DNA samples from the family members, brothers, sisters, mother, father, and we pack them up and we send that to the University of North Texas. They will extract the DNA from just take buccal swabs from the inside of the cheek. We send that all down to them. They extract the DNA from the buccal swabs, and they put that into the CODIS database that they have, and they hope for a match to one of our missing persons or to a missing person from California, Nevada, anywhere in the United States.
Okay. And you told me you're going to retire in a little over a year. What would it mean for you to be able to essentially bury these women with tombstones with their names on them?
It'd be a great deal of satisfaction. Been a lot of time, a lot of efforts put into all three of these cases, especially the case from '76, only because it's been here much longer. There's been a lot of work done on both these cases here, and it'd be, hopefully it's clear. All three of them are clear before I retire. But if not, I know in my heart of hearts that the detectives that follow me will be doing the same thing I've been doing, to be trying to match these girls up with a family.
And you know that there are probably, you had talked to me before off camera that there could be a reason, there could be some sort of criminal element involved in why any of these three women died. Maybe like you said before, maybe she died of an overdose in a house and they just got nervous and dragged her out. What would you want to tell those people as far as the importance of letting their fears go? How can you personally alleviate their fears of coming forward?
Well, if there's no criminal offense that's occurred, in other words, if it is a drug overdose that occurred, what we want to know is, obviously we want to know the truth, okay? But we want to know who the person is. if it's not a crime, and you just somebody died of an overdose in your house, and you put the body outside, okay, you got to live with yourself on that. But it's not a crime. It's not something that we can come back and charge with. What we want to do is who the person is. Go back to the family members. Like I said, they may be out of state. Call them up and say, hey, we found your loved one. We know what happened to your loved one. They're not here anymore. They're not going to be coming back to the front door anymore or coming home and put it to rest for them. Put it to rest for them. I sort of lost my train of thought there. But anyhow, go ahead.
No, y'all made sense there to me. I just have one more question. We've talked a lot about national missing person databases. If the person is from out of state, is there a system in place to kind of cross-check the DNA with the out-of-state missing or out-of-country missing people?
Again, we use University of North Texas for all that.
They do international. They do all.
I believe they do. Don't quote me on that though. You might want to talk to them. I know they do the national database. I don't know if they get cases from international. A lot of our cases we also use NCIC, National Crime Information Center, and that we get the sort of like the height, weight, the what am I trying to think of?
Anthropologists, like
the characteristics of the person that are entered in there, okay, and then the clothing and things like that, and we try to match them up that way also. The NCIC will come up with a potential match, and we call that agency and say, hey, this is what we have. What do you have? Do you have anything similar? Do you have any dental? Do you have DNA? And if they do, again, we could, hopefully they send their DNA to the University of North Texas. If not, then we got to send ours to that agency. Not every agency, as far as I know, not every agency in the United States sends their samples to the University of North Texas.